And the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest Ace dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
down, and I don't know, Peter, if I'm going to hit it right on the minute. I am not Ken, so I cannot do that. But
You can make it. You only have 10 seconds left.
all right, hang on. Wait for it. I can't see this one. 7, 9. There you go. All right, I did it. But that one's an
809 on the nose.
809 on the nose. Ken, if you're listening, be proud of me because I am upholding your wonderful, wonderful example. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Palmer talking to you from WCPC and in cooperation with Westfield State College or State University, 89.5. And you can find us on Channel 15 or on westfieldtv.org. As you can see, I am not Ken. I don't have this long, nice hair. I have that short, choppy hair. And you too can be Coffee Bean Brown number 42 for a mere $80 a month. Everybody can be this color. So coming in, Peter,
that's long hair to me. You're a long-haired woman.
I'm a long-haired woman. It's nice to know. Peter, I'm sorry. I don't have anything to complain about today. I don't have any pet peeves.
That's okay. That means I don't have to do a disclaimer.
There you go. We don't have to do that. And you're off pretty soon too, aren't you?
I mean, there's always a disclaimer with Bob there, but
Thank you.
We're not going to mention that. Yeah,
Talking about pet peeves.
And never. I got
yes,
one
we're gone
that.
for a rocket launch. We're leaving the 5th and coming back the 10th.
And that's going to be where?
Down in Florida. We want to see Falcon Heavy before it retires.
I just hope the weather holds out for you boys because every time you guys go down there, they have a postponement. Has it ever gone off on time?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the SpaceX stuff is pretty reliable.
All right.
The only thing usually scrubs for is weather.
Yeah.
But you know what? I need to get away where it's warm.
Yes, I know.
Because I didn't have that this winter, and it's really affecting me more so than I thought it would.
And those dulcet tones you hear coming from under the glass, it's Peter under glass. That is Peter Coles, our ever-trusty producer, and the man in control. Then different
You
today.
sure about that?
Usually when I'm here, I don't still have you. But in the middle, I have my cohort, Bob Plass, whom I have. How many years have I known you?
Oh, God. I know exactly because
1978.
1970, I think
78?
it's closer to 75.
No,
76.
78 or 79 was...
Maybe 78. 78.
Yeah.
All right, I'll say 78. Yeah, 77, 78.
And honestly...
You weren't even born then, were you?
Shh.
Maybe not yet.
Oh,
Maybe
God.
not yet.
Holy
No.
Mother God.
That's how long I've known Bob Plass, who is honestly... I do kid you a lot, Bob. You know we do. But you are the best thing to happen to Westfield.
Oh, no, I'm not the best. Oh, no,
Yes,
no,
you are.
no. I'm one of the
Yes.
nice things, but not.
Yes.
I won't take credit for Westfield, for
You
God's
are.
sakes.
So talking...
Put up a statue then. Send me
Put up a
money.
statue.
Send me
No,
money.
not in Florida, we can't.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, talking about pet peeves. Did you see what I did there?
That's
I
good.
did.
Segue right
Yep.
into we have a guest here this morning, Bob, that we haven't had on before.
Never?
And that's Margaret Terkelsen. She is from the Westfield Animal Shelter. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning. How are you
morning.
guys?
I'm very good.
Good.
We are
Could
happy
you
to
arrest
have you.
me?
No,
Do you have that power?
I don't have arrest powers.
You don't? Wow.
No, I don't.
Oh, Bob, we're
Now
starting
I can be
our
safe
regimen.
again.
Margaret, as we get going and get started,
Mm-hmm.
where is, and wait, I said animal shelter. It is the regional, is that correct?
Yeah, it's regional. We do cover 3 towns currently. So we also cover Southampton and East Hampton as needed. We're mostly doing Westfield, but when they need us, they do call us out. So we do take in animals from those 3 towns.
And where are you located? Because I think, honestly, every once in a while I see the car zipping through town that says animal control.
Sure.
But where are you?
So we're on the north side of town. It's 178 Apremont Way. It's right across from the airport and Tobacco restaurant.
Did you know it was there, Bob?
I knew it was up, right on the corner there as you veer toward just before you take the turn into Tobacco restaurant.
It's pretty much right on the corner where Apremont changes to Airport Road.
Yeah, I think I've even been in there for some reason. I don't think, maybe James was, do we go there for a dog?
Or to adopt?
Yeah.
Yeah. We adopt out animals at the shelter, yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I may have gone in there just to get a whiff of what it's like to, yeah.
A whiff is one thing, yep.
A whiff is what he would need. Those of us used to animals just don't pay any attention to the whiffs any longer.
No.
Now, what I have to say, how is it funded? Is it under the city budget? Do you have an independent budget?
There is a city budget for it's a municipal animal shelter, so it's an animal control facility. So it is funded by the city. There is a nonprofit that can help provide some extra things that the city budget may not cover. But yeah, we do have a budget through the city.
Now, how big is your staff?
Well, it's been in flux for the past several months, but a full staff for us is 2 animal control officers that are full-time. We have a part-time adoption counselor who also helps us with, many different things at the shelter, and then myself, who is the operations manager. And I can also do animal control stuff as well.
Now, do you take in any volunteers?
We do take in volunteers. It gets a little tricky at our shelter sometimes. Our intake seems to be a little seasonal. Obviously, it's very unpredictable since we're primarily taking in strays, things that people are finding, loose in the city. But typically, we're much busier in the warmer weather. So we do have a small group of volunteers. Sometimes in the warmer weather, we are looking for a couple extra volunteers since we have more animals.
And what do they do? Do they walk the dogs? Do they
a lot of cleaning.
Clean the cages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
You're perfect for this job. I have a gag reflex, so I don't think that's in my future.
You might not be a great volunteer for us.
And how did you live with Frankie if you have that?
I learned to look away when I've got the bag out there and I'm taking the stuff. There were a couple of times that I touched him in an inappropriate place without knowing it. Oh God, we were talking about the ick factor earlier.
Yeah.
Talk about ick. Honest to God. I want to know animal control. So by the very nature of the name, you're controlling animals in our city? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean...
I told you not to make eye contact. I warned you.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, I think the title has gone from dog catcher to dog officer, and now, we go by animal control because we're not really just dealing with dogs. But, yeah, I mean, typically we're enforcing the ordinances in town and the state laws that pertain to animals. And, our primary goal is animal and human safety, honestly.
Now, what types of animals do you usually deal with?
We usually deal with dogs and cats. There are a lot of cats that we do pick up, wandering around. People are concerned about them, as they should be. There's a lot of things out there that are pretty scary for any loose domestic animal. But so it's primarily dogs and cats. But, we get a surprising number of rabbits in, domestic rabbits.
Really?
Yeah.
Get ready because Easter's coming up.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Now, why do you suppose that is?
That we're getting a lot of rabbits?
Yeah.
I think, this is speculation, but I would assume people either keep their rabbits outside or they're letting them out for, exercise. And rabbits are crafty.
Are rabbits indigenous to this area? So, because I have a couple of white-tailed rabbits.
Sure,
in
the
my
cottontails, yeah, the eastern cottontails are, they belong here.
They belong here.
Yeah.
So they're okay. You're not. I'm not going to.
No.
I'm not calling you, and you're going to say no. That cottontail belongs here.
I don't want.
I don't want
ones.
Peter.
No.
Peter
You don't want the
Cottontail.
fluffy little rabbit outside in my yard?
Yeah.
No, they're so cute.
I can see where some people get a pet and they do leave it outside. I know at one time years ago we had a pony. And
Really?
yes.
Was it a Christmas pony?
It was, no. It was a pony that honestly was taken to a slaughterhouse. And they said that happens frequently because people who don't know will get a pony and isn't this going to be fun? And then winter comes, and they have no place to put the pony, and all of a sudden it's not so much fun anymore.
Sure.
Now it's a problem. Well, we can keep it in our garage for a while and blah, blah, blah. But no, and we had Louis for years.
Oh.
Years and years.
And
but
where did he
They
stay?
said that's
Did he
not
stay
unusual.
in the garage?
No, we have a barn, Bob.
Oh, you were in the barn. Okay, so he wasn't in a... Because in Ireland, they welcome them right into the house.
Well, that's awfully nice.
It is.
Bring them in.
It is.
You can
So
bring them in.
speaking of that, Kath, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there ordinances about the number of pets a person can have in their house?
Yep. In town, we do have an ordinance for that. And
Well, tell us.
I remember a big case with the Zoning Board of Appeals about that. That kept going on forever and ever and ever.
Was that recently,
about the
Pete?
number, Peter?
It was up off of Northwest Road. Yeah, it was like last year maybe. That the people wanted to apply for a kennel license because they had that one. You know what I'm talking about now.
Oh, yes.
I think so.
know.
It was
yeah.
like they were right
Yes.
on the edge of 6 dogs. I think the max you can have is what, 5?
4. I think it's
Well,
4.
actually, in
5.
town, it's the maximum is actually 3.
it 3?
If you want more than 3 dogs, you do need to apply for a residential kennel license.
Yeah.
So you have to become a kennel.
And there's a
in
lot of
order to have
requirements for
4.
that too.
It's so you need to apply for a residential kennel license. It's just it gives you the allowance to have up to 9 dogs. The board kind of decides how many dogs you can have, but
But in order to be a kennel, then you have to have individual areas where they sleep. It said no.
It's
Or
more
could I
of-
just welcome them in? Come on into the living
it's
room.
more of just the residential kennel is more of just a term. So I mean, we've got most of our residential kennels in town are just families who wanted to have more than 3 dogs in their home. So they went through the
why?
process.
I
you have more than 3?
No, I have enough with the border collie. It's tough having a border collie because he's smarter than I am.
Sure.
Oh, much smarter.
Yeah,
Much-
yeah.
And he has a license too, so he can
my
drive.
Oh, he can. Oh, they drive. She drives.
Drive.
Talented dog.
I have a friend of mine who is a trainer, won't matter, and someone said, well, I just left their farm and they have a border collie. And I said, well, the difference is my border collie herds the cows. Her border collie can probably drive the tractor and plant the corn.
That's pretty nice.
They're pretty smart.
They are very
3
smart.
dogs? No,
Very
thank
smart.
you.
So,
No, thank you.
Officer, if I were, I had a neighbor who had more than 3 dogs, and I wasn't sure that they were licensed as a kennel. Do you get a lot of those calls saying, you got to do something? Those dogs
Nuisance
are barking up a storm,
Well, yeah,
et
so,
cetera, et cetera.
I was going to say, I hope people aren't ratting on their neighbors just because they have a lot of dogs. But if there's an issue like they are barking a lot or, you know.
Or they're leaving them out in the backyard.
Or they seem concerned about the animal's well-being, we certainly want people to call about that.
Sure.
But the first thing you want to do is go over and talk to your neighbor before you
Well, it's
call.
always nice to be
And ask
neighborly
them first.
It really is.
Say, gee,
So how do
but-
you do that? You walk in, knock, knock. Hi, Kathy.
What
nice-
now, Bob?
Well,
Go away.
I gotta say that. Look, you have how many dogs do you have? No, you have 4 dogs.
I have 4. Okay, I have
I've
4.
seen you have 4 dogs.
Okay.
Are you licensed as a kennel?
But
Because
why
those
are you
dogs are
asking?
barking every day and night.
You know what, though, Bob? 1 dog could bark day and night, too. And I'm sure.
That's true.
But you have
there
4
actually is additionally a barking dog ordinance in
Is there?
There is. Yeah.
Oh, what is that? I did not know.
When do those dogs have to be kept from
Well,
barking?
I will say there isn't a time limit on it. I mean, there is a general noise ordinance in town, and please don't quiz me on the general noise ordinance because I don't know that one. But
Right.
the barking dog ordinance specifically says if your dog is barking in excess of 10 minutes, you're liable for a citation. Now, that being said, I would hope that people as dog owners, you know, we understand that dogs bark. It's fine. But, you know, if your dog is outside kind of incessantly barking, it's maybe time to just bring them in. I mean, we all, you know, some of us in Westfield do live far away from our neighbors, but a lot of us live very close to our neighbors. So it, you know, kind of just boils down to being considerate. And I, believe it or not, do not like writing citations to people. I really don't.
I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you do. It's uncomfortable, and they don't mean it. Honestly, Bob, that's why our dog was placed with us, because he was barking, but he was inside all day. with a litter mate, not in Westfield,
Right.
with a litter mate and on a busy street. And they weren't home all day. And so that's what he did.
Oh,
But
God.
Border
Absolutely.
Collies, as you know, you can't do that. You can't leave them inside all day long. Border Collies need to be entertained.
They like to be busy.
Yeah, they need to be entertained. Never mind the puzzles, the dog puzzles. Oh, heck no. We learned that in 5 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
smart
Forget
dogs.
it. Do you ever get really exotic pets in there?
We've gotten a bunch of different kinds of things. We've had geckos before. We've had tarantulas. We've had
No.
we get birds on occasion.
Birds, yes.
Guinea pigs. Like I said, rabbits.
Snakes?
I'm trying to think. I mean, it's certainly a possibility.
Ferrets, I would bet.
Oh, ferrets are sneaky. We actually do get
Really?
stray. We do actually get stray ferrets in now and again because they fit into really small areas.
They do.
So you know the term weasel out of something. I mean that's
Yeah.
it's appropriate for
But
ferrets.
like chipmunks, there's a difference between okay, I've got a chipmunk problem at my house. Not that I do. I'm knocking on wood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Don't call
but
animal control.
Do I
She can't
call
help you.
animal control for that, or do I call the health
Pest
department?
control.
For
Or do
so
animal control? I have chipmunks that are running wild. They're driving my black squirrels nuts, if you pardon the expression.
I mean, so nuisance wildlife is not something that animal control is responsible for. That's something you have to call a service out for to deal with.
Nuisance wildlife.
So
That's a good way of looking at it.
So if you have any kind of wildlife problem, there, you have an infestation, or they're in your attic and you don't want them there, or something like that, you would typically be calling a wildlife or a pest removal company for that.
And not the city.
Not the city, no. I mean, typically, if we're dealing with wildlife, it's because somebody has potentially been exposed to rabies and that animal needs to be tested. Or on occasion, if somebody's concerned that they've seen wildlife that are sick or injured, we'll certainly go out and take a look.
What about a house that's been abandoned? That
yes.
then there was one. There's one on a street very close to us that apparently the raccoons were having a field day there.
Yes, they like
That's
to do
true.
that.
But on
Yeah.
on that note, Bob, do you find people moving away and leaving animals, and you get called for that, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly would want people to call if that's a concern of theirs, that an animal's been left alone. We do get calls like that on occasion. A lot of times it ends up being a misunderstanding where somebody hasn't actually abandoned their animals. They've moved their stuff out and they've been actually tending to the animal until they can also move the animal out. So we
But they've left the animal in a barren house. How would you like to be left in a barren
Oh, well,
house?
it's
with just a-
certainly not enjoyable, but we do have legal limitations to our job. We can't just be scooping up people's animals just because we feel like it.
Yeah.
So we try to do our due diligence to figure out the whole story.
Right.
And like I said, a lot of times with people, and a lot of times it ends up being apartments. They've left and they've gone to a new place. They're
Sure.
trying to get set up. They're going and taking care of their animal, but the animal just isn't ready to be in the home yet. So a lot of times we have those conversations, and then within a day, the animal has been moved back with its family.
So you make a return visit to see if the animal has gone?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All righty.
So
I never understood that. I never understood people leaving their animals.
no, and thankfully, it truthfully doesn't happen.
It's a
very
trauma.
often.
Oh no,
But-
I had someone three times that's happened to me. My husband came in from over from the barn. I'm not at the farm. I'm actually next to the farm.
Yeah.
And he came in and he said, there's a new cat in the barn. And I said, what? Because
Wow.
I really take care of them. And I pick them up and I fix them. I have spent thousands fixing barn cats because I didn't want all these kittens. I said, if we do this, we're going to get rabies, we're going to get leukemia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to bring
Yep.
it home to your pets at home.
Yep.
You
Sure.
can't do this. So I went over. This was August. I couldn't find the cat. Nowhere to be seen. Thanksgiving, I look out, and there's this poor cat out there trying to eat breadcrumbs.
Oh,
because
my
it had been a house cat. Somebody didn't want it.
Right.
They dumped it in the barn.
Yeah.
Now I've got to bring it in. Now I can't let it near mine because I don't know where it's been. So I had to isolate it in the basement. And then I did bring it up to, it was Dr. Fowles at the time. He checked it over, gave it all its shots, did a blood draw, and then he found a home for it inside.
And was he friendly? Was the cat friendly?
The cat was very friendly. It was, and that's what people don't understand. You can't take a house cat and dump it on a farm. A, it doesn't know I'm there, I'm going to feed it and take care of it. It's going to run. B, it can't hunt if it doesn't know how to hunt. And cats need to be taught. Just like you need to be taught, cats need to be taught. So they can't. Then another time I came home.
How do you
True
teach?
story.
Wait a minute. How do you teach a cat?
You
to
don't.
hunt?
The mother does.
Oh, all right.
I'm not going to run
picturing
around.
myself out
Well,
there with a.
you know, forget it because mine they watch the mouse go across the floor and they look at me and they go,
Do I get it or what?
I'll get it later, Mom.
Yes.
I'll do it later. I had one honestly left in a carrying case on my doorstep with a note. We don't want it. Maybe you do.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. People do tend to leave cats at barns. I don't really know why. And unfortunately, you have a very big barn on your property.
It is nice to have. It's nice to have cats for rodent control, but understand if you leave your cat there, chances are it's not going to make it. It's just not going to make it.
How many cats is in the ordinance? How many cats can a person have?
4.
4 cats.
And then they can also apply for a residential kennel license to have more.
I see. Okay. Now
It is different for multi-family units, however, for apartments, condos, and that sort of thing.
different. And what are you saying?
Well, currently the ordinance states that if you're in a multi-family unit, technically you're allowed to have 1 dog and 1 cat, and that's it.
I would assume that would
Interesting.
be it. Yeah.
Now, licensing. Tell us about the license ordinances because people need to know about that. I don't.
So right now it's only dog licensing, so you don't need to license.
That's why I went there. I went there to
For
get a dog license.
But I want to mention, you maybe don't need to license your cat, but I need to rabies your cat.
It is a state
They
law
will
that
no longer treat your cat unless it's rabies.
all dogs, cats, and ferrets must be
Ferrets.
must be rabies vaccinated.
Yep.
And licensed?
Nope. That's the state laws for the rabies vaccine. With the licensing, any dog over the age of 6 months does need to be licensed.
But no cats. They don't
Not
have
right-
to be licensed.
Nope. Some towns do license cats as well. But right now for Westfield, it's just dogs.
And the license is good for how long?
It's good for a year.
And how do they do that? Where do they do that and how do they
So there actually, you used to be able to come to the shelter, but there is a lovely woman down at City Hall who does dog licensing. So it's done at City Hall or you can mail it in. There is a form online on the city website and the animal control city website.
So you would go to the licensing bureau at City Hall?
Yes.
City clerks?
I believe
City-
it's
no, is it city
it's
clerk
actually
or
not.
the-
It's
no.
it's actually the licensing department right now. But I believe it's the first or second floor.
No, it's second.
Second floor.
Second floor,
Second
right down
floor?
down the. Where's the auditor? Whatever floor that's on, she's.
I think it's
they're
the
right
second
down the.
floor. But yeah, so she can do it for you. I believe it's 9 to 5 from Monday through Friday, or you can mail it in, and then you don't have to go anywhere.
What?
Alrighty,
When does a cat turn into?
Let's see if Peter can take a quick break here. We'll take a breath. Peter,
Okay,
can we
sure.
take a quick break here?
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drum. Tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
And we are back again. This is Ken's Den. Well, of course, it's not Ken's Den. Ken isn't here today. Mm-hmm. It is me, Kathy.
It's Kathy's
me.
Coffee Club.
Kathy's Corner.
Kathy's Corner.
Ken is by a pool somewhere in Orlando, Florida.
I know. I hate him. It's so cold here and rainy. But here we are back on WCPC, Channel 15, WSKB of Westfield State University, 89.5 at your leisure. Or you can catch us on Westfield. Westfield.org? WestfieldTV.org, Peter?
That is correct.
Oh, I'm correct about something. And this morning we have Bob Plass to my right. No therapy today, Bob.
No therapy.
No, we're doing well.
No,
we're
yeah,
doing
absolutely.
Well. And we are talking with Margaret Terkelsen from the Westfield Regional Animal Shelter. Margaret, if someone, needed to get in touch with you for anything, how would they do that?
Yep. So we have office lines. So it's 413-564-3129.
Can you give that again?
Yep. It's 413-564-3129. Okay.
And you service how many counties?
We service Westfield, East Hampton, and Southampton.
Oh, wow. We never think of that as I would always think.
Bob, we said that back in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, the caveat for Southampton and East Hampton is that we get called out by their police department. So people in those towns should primarily call their police department, and if it's something that their department feels they can't handle, they give us a call and they'll send us out.
Oh, okay. Can they reach you online? Do you have a presence online?
We have a Facebook page, and we also do have an Instagram. And if you can probably find my email on this animal control website. I
think you can. Yes.
So you can always email. I mean, obviously, if there's some kind of emergency, 911 is always the right number to call.
Yeah, right.
If the one issue with calling us at the office is that a lot of times you do need to leave a message. We are a small staff, and we have to respond to calls. So we don't have a secretary to sit there and answer calls for us. So we check messages frequently and respond as appropriate.
There might be something you can put a volunteer on, answering calls.
Yeah, it's certainly an idea. Yeah.
How many animals can you accommodate there? How many?
Oh gosh. I believe we have 20 large dog kennels and maybe a similar amount of cat kennels, but we can get pretty creative with how we're housing animals based on the numbers that we have. I mean, we've got kennels that break down that we can certainly use.
But are you having that many dogs and cats there?
Well, right now I think we have 8 dogs currently, and I think we have 10 cats currently.
Okay. Now, if someone loses a pet, what do you do if you pick up a lost pet?
Yeah, so if we pick up a lost pet, we always scan for a microchip. That's actually state law. And
the rattlesnake. Don't forget, you can scan the rattlesnake now.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be getting close enough to a rattlesnake to be scanning it.
That's a long scan.
I hadn't thought of that. I was telling her a story that we had a rattlesnake in our yard, and we had to call the environmental police because you can't kill them, They're
endangered. They're endangered.
They're a protected species. Yeah. And one thing they do is they chip it. How did they do that? Oh,
that's
so go on. I did
well, you anesthetize. You stick a needle someplace in that long tube. Boom, boom, boom.
Can't
then the snake is asleep.
That's probably how they do it.
And then you put in a chip.
Yeah,
it's what the alien did to me last Thursday night.
All right, so a lost pet comes into you.
Sure. So, we scan for a microchip. We get them all set up in their nice little kennel. They get toys and a blanket and a bed and food and water. We take an intake photo of everybody. We post them on our Facebook page. If anyone's called recently saying that they've missed an animal, we certainly will give them a call to see if it's their animal that we have. And at that point, we have to hold dogs and cats for 10 days.
And then what happens? Then
we do behavioral evaluations, and as long as we feel they're safe to adopt out, we put them up for our adoption program.
And you don't send them to Dakin or anything like that, do you?
No, sometimes we will. Sometimes we will work with various rescues if we feel we're not getting the right attention on the animal that we have, or we have a specific breed of animal that we feel.
There are rescues for
right
specific breeds, like there's a border collie rescue.
Sure.
So,
yep. So
there is a fee though for reclaiming your pet, is there not?
There is. Yep. So we have an impound fee. There's fees for if your animal's not vaccinated for rabies. We're not legally allowed to release an animal unless we have proof that that animal's current, which we have to see with a current rabies certificate. So if an owner isn't able to provide that, we have to go and get that animal vaccinated before returning.
Now, do you have veterinary care there available to you, or?
We don't have veterinary care on staff, so we have to go to different veterinarians in the area to get services.
Yeah. Right. Now, I know that you have adoption fees, and I know you're essentially a no-kill shelter.
Yeah. So
essentially, and I hate to say this, but I know there are some animals that are not adoptable.
Sure.
And that's the way it is. And I know with cats, we do put some back in the barn. If they're feral and we can fix them, we do put them back in the barn ourselves. So I know that happens. But you have adoption fees, which, by the way, parenthetically aside, Bob, with other shelters or services, you're dirt cheap.
Yeah, and our
People should
adoption.
know that.
Yeah, we
You're
are pretty
dirt
cheap currently. I mean, our adoption fees haven't changed in several years. They are subject to change, but currently our adoption fees are fairly cheap. In comparison with the area.
Could you give us the adoption fee?
So currently, and again, they are subject to change. Currently, our dogs are $165, adult cats are $125, and kittens are $175. And
Wait a minute. You mean a kitten is more expensive than a
yeah,
dog?
the demand for kittens is a little higher than adults. So.
Oh, I had no idea.
See, I would rather an adult cat any day to a kitten.
I feel the
kittens
same
are
way.
cute.
But
Kittens are adorable, and that's how they suck you in.
it is true.
Because
Oh,
they're as
man.
cute as can possibly
Listen,
be.
I had a kitten back in 1960. I'll tell you exactly. 1967. No, wait a minute. 69. 69, 70. I thought to myself, I was living in a one-room place over Myron Court over off Riverdale Street. So I had this little kitten. So the kitten starts sleeping around my head at night.
Oh, they love to do that.
I hated it.
They love
I
to
couldn't, and it was driving me nuts. And I was, and then I came home from school. I was teaching at the time, and the kitten had SH blank all over the apartment.
Oh dear.
I said, "That's it. You're out of here." I took the kitten and I brought it to the ASPCA at that time, and I said, "Goodbye and good luck." And that was the end of my ever having a cat.
Cats in general are very intrusive. They love to. There's a rule with cats.
Yeah.
If it's on your lap, you don't move.
Okay.
You may have to sit there for hours.
I know the anxiety of living with me and having me not wanted to have around my neck.
Well, it's good to know.
Well, I
cat.
wonder, do you offer advice about taking care of your pet for owners who just don't have a clue?
Yeah, I mean, we will provide basic information for people for care.
They're very picky with the you have an adoption form.
Well, there is a process. Yeah, there's an adoption
They
application.
don't just hand it
There's
to
an
you.
adoption application.
Do I get all dressed up in a tie? And what would make me look like somebody that you'd let take home an animal?
I mean, that's your choice. I'm not going to give away our secrets because we want to make sure nobody's cheating the system. So I can't give those secrets away.
Actually, she's going to stalk you, Bob.
Right, yes, but take a look at me. What animal would you like to see me with?
Would I like to see you with?
Yeah.
Bob, your hound was a good dog for you.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, your Briard, you said.
Oh,
you
I
know.
love
Yeah.
the Briard. Yeah.
What would I say though?
Yeah.
What about some guinea pigs? They're awfully
Oh,
cute.
for God's
guinea
sakes.
pigs.
Guinea pig.
Have you ever had a guinea pig?
No,
They're
they
really
don't
cute.
do anything.
Oh, sure they
but they're
What do
cute.
they do? They just sit there and crap.
They
No.
They roll. What is that? I need. Oh, no.
We had a guinea pig back in my class from back in the days. The kids actually loved them.
Of course they did. They're
and then
adorable.
at the end of the 2 years or so, I was done with the guinea pig.
Yeah, and why were
And
you
I
done?
had a
Because
family
it did nothing.
No. I just had too many things on my plate, and I had.
They're adorable. I thought it would be a good match for you.
They are cute.
Bob's reaction?
Hated it.
Yes, yeah.
Fair
We-
enough.
Lord.
We were talking about the ick factor earlier. This is a
Fair
definite
enough.
ick.
Fair
Ick.
enough.
Are there?
I'm
Bob,
so
could you
sorry.
do? Could you?
I'm so sorry.
I forgot about your ick factors.
I think
Hi.
Yeah,
Bob
yeah,
would do
yeah,
okay
yeah.
with a cat.
No, he just said didn't
I
want a
can't
cat.
stand cats. I've had
said
to.
I
don't know.
I was traumatized by that cat back in 1968. I haven't been able to get beyond that.
What about a bird?
No,
No
no. Avian guano.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he-
Very good for you to use the term guano.
It was the Wordle word yesterday.
I didn't do Wordle yesterday. I missed it.
Dear
Guano.
God, yeah, Wordle.
I don't know where they thought that anybody in their right mind would know what guano was.
Well, you got it.
I
what
got it in
guano
4,
is.
but that was because I had a lot of the letters. But I thought they're actually doing a word for bird crap.
Birds, bats, and
Bats,
I believe
bats.
seals also
Seals are
they
known
call
as
them
excrete
bats?
guano. Yes, I believe so.
guano. Well, see, that's why I don't want to, like, I can
Okay,
still
fair
smell
enough.
my canary when I was a kid.
Aw.
My sister had a
And
canary.
Peter, he's gone down again.
Hey, maybe
hasn't
we
he?
are doing therapy.
Yeah, maybe we are. So we've narrowed it down. A tortoise. You have little tortoises.
or
A couple of
turtles?
tortoises there now.
Sure, we do. Yep.
And do you get a lot of like the geckos and those types of animals?
No, not generally. A lot of times we're getting those animals from either. So sometimes we get animals from, like, if there's been a structure fire and families have been displaced, we can hold animals in an emergency situation until they've gotten settled. You know, if somebody's been hospitalized and they don't have family or friends to take care of an animal, again, in an emergency situation, we can hold those animals. Investigations sometimes that we're doing, we're holding animals. So there's animals like that, typically we're getting in those situations. We're not always getting them because they're running around loose. And not to say it doesn't happen, but that's typically how we're getting those animals.
So
like
what
geckos
is your typical day when you go back now?
There is no typical day.
Oh, it sounds like teaching.
It's like a box of chocolates.
It sure is, Pete.
Yes. So what do you do all during the day? Do you go out on calls? Are you caring for them, feeding?
Yeah, no, this is actually an excellent question because I think a lot of people don't know. We do have a small staff, and we do have a shelter where we have animals housed. So because of that, we tend to be currently all women of many talents. So, you know, we go in the morning and we have to take care of everybody. I mean, they're living beings. They, you know, it's our responsibility to take care of them. So we spend most of the morning taking care of all the animals while simultaneously checking messages and responding to calls as needed. And then, you know, once we finish with our morning animal husbandry, you know, then we can get down to, you know, doing kennel inspections or barn inspections or, you know, releasing animals from a rabies quarantine or placing animals on a rabies quarantine or responding to our barking dog complaints. And, you know, all the while throughout the day, you know, we do have to take care of the animals multiple times throughout the day. So we sort of balance all of that. And, you know, our adoption counselor, you know, she's checking up on applications. She's calling people, you know, to let them know if they're going to be a good fit for the animal they applied for. And so it's kind of a runaround.
I've seen your animal control bus, or I always think of every time it drives by.
There's one that's been out here forever.
Yeah. I think
that's a retired one.
Oh, a retired one.
Yeah.
I think of, oh my God, Margaret Hamilton in The Wizard of Oz. There's the animal control person going,
oh, brother,
I'm going to take that dog. You and your little dog.
That is how a lot of people see us. Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
It's hurtful, honestly.
It is really hurtful. I've compared you to Margaret Hamilton in The Wizard of Oz.
Well, all the dog catchers in the movies, they're just with the net and chasing after the dogs and, you know.
Yeah.
No, I think animal control is wonderful, Bob. Let me tell you, years and years and years ago, our first boarder, for some reason, was terrified of thunder. And she broke out of the barn.
Yeah.
And she ran. Terry was down in the back field, and she went down to the back field. Now, I'm in Pachasik.
Yeah.
She was picked up, thank God, by animal control. But in those days, it was up on Montgomery Road.
Sure.
That's where they used to take them. Thank God they picked her up. In a storm, in a thunderstorm, she swam the Westfield River.
Oh, my God.
And from Pachasik Road was picked up on the golf course in Toccoa.
Wow.
Oh,
so I thank God for animal control because,
Thank you.
and she was licensed and she was chipped and all that, so we got her back right away. They called us. But thank God. She would have been in Suffield, Connecticut by then because she would have kept running with the thunder.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If my dog or my cat has left the home and is lost, you should be the first person that I call.
Yes.
Yeah.
After how long? I mean, how long does it take for you to find a dog that's been lost or a cat that's been?
I suppose it depends, right?
It depends. Yeah.
Because you know, some people will pick up stray animals and make assumptions that they've been abandoned or
they
you
do
know
that a lot with cats.
Yeah,
Cats
and you
that
know,
are still going loose, which shouldn't, but
it's so hard because I call and I say to you, I just saw a dog, and it's roaming, and it looks like it's homeless. It's a little shabby. I saw him or her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to look.
Fair
Totally.
enough,
I'm
fair
sorry.
I don't need that information.
You don't need that.
Not right now.
Okay. It's a
factor
male.
kicking in.
It's gender. It's a gender fluid dog.
Sure.
That is roaming on Holland Avenue.
Sure.
And he was there maybe a half hour ago.
Okay.
So what are you going to do?
Well,
Are you going to get in the car and then drove?
half an hour is a long time.
Yeah. So
For a dog on the move.
Right.
I mean, if someone's calling and they just saw a dog and it's on the move, we go down and we will search a big area.
Right.
And try to look for the dog. If you're calling a half hour later and we haven't gotten any other calls about it,
It's hard.
It's kind of tough because if the dog was running around, presumably someone else would have called within a half hour for it running around loose.
Right.
But
And do you recommend me, if I see a dog running around loose, to go over to the dog and put a leash on that dog and take it home with me?
I wouldn't. do
not
that.
typically. I don't typically suggest anyone be touching any animal that they don't know, regardless of its size or type or anything. I don't really recommend it. Not to say that we haven't had citizens who've been able to confine animals safely, and it's been a huge help.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to put anybody at risk and tell them to touch an animal they don't know.
Okay.
You don't know animals' vaccine statuses. You don't know their health status.
Yeah.
You don't know their
You could be
sociability.
bringing something home.
So I got a question, and this is it's been driving me nuts all the while
Only
here.
one?
Lay it on
You
us.
mentioned the gecko. Then I started to think back in the day, maybe in the 50s or 60s, and Kathy, our
gonna say I remember.
Officer Terkelsen will not know this, but wasn't there a time that you could buy a chameleon, a live chameleon, that was stuck to a pin? The women used to wear chameleons on their body that would change
no.
color.
Oh, Lord.
I do not recall that.
I swear, pet
That may be a little.
chameleons.
Is that like an urban legend or an
I
urban?
wonder. I have no
Nothing
idea.
I know.
But do they still sell chameleons out there?
I believe you can still buy chameleons as pets. I don't think people typically wear them as a brooch, but
Thank you for saying that with a straight face.
I haven't heard of it.
I
serious.
swear
Just
that they
beep.
were selling them.
I-
Maybe on the
I'll look
black
But
that
you
up.
can. I mean, you can get them as pets.
And why would
we
you
had
want
them
a
in school.
chameleon? You had a chameleon as a pet?
We had them in school. No, I've never had one, but at one time they were part of our science project. But that's a really bad idea because then what do you do when you're finished with them? We all know that, that notorious gypsy moth that some teacher in Boston let one out the window and now we're inundated.
well,
Now,
you
I'm
know-
not sure. That may be a myth.
Ideally, if you're adopting or purchasing any animal, you're purchasing it with the intent on keeping it for life.
And it is. And and they're...
And I suppose that the caveat is, do not purchase an exotic, and it says exotic animals. Do not purchase an exotic animal unless you know how to treat the exotic
How to
animal.
treat it, how long you're going to have it for.
You're not Joe Exotic out there.
Some of you maybe are, but.
Yeah. But you're not going to rent to me, or you're not going to give me a dog if I look like. If I came in to your.
We don't discriminate against people having mullets or cut off tees or anything like that.
I'm smoking.
You can't smoke on city property.
Yeah, but you're.
I don't think that's what he means.
Is that a clue that you don't want this dog to be to living in a house where somebody smokes?
Well, that's not on our adoption application.
There's a rabbit hole that Bob's leading you down. Don't go into it.
I want to know. I'm looking.
Bob,
now.
you're going into the most extreme what if I've ever heard.
No, I
mean,
wanted to
honestly.
know about. I want to know about that.
Somebody's got to rein him in.
Chameleon brooches or brooches.
I don't know. We'll
Brooches,
look it up.
brooches.
We'll look it up. Bob, I've never heard of it. I do remember back then those little turtles were very popular. They had a little tiny but it was.
Oh yeah.
They banned that because of salmonella.
Those green little turtles.
Little teeny tiny. When I was in high
Yeah,
school,
and we serve them nothing but
don't.
lettuce.
They don't.
I don't know how you can live on lettuce.
Well, that's all right.
Not many of us do.
No.
Is there any information other than the chameleon on the brooch that you would like to share with us, or something you'd like to get out for us, for the public?
Sure. There's one piece of information that I haven't shared yet. It's just that the shelter currently is not. We don't have public hours that people can just waltz into the shelter, simply because we don't have staff to walk people through the shelter whenever they would like to show up.
Right.
So right now, if you are interested in adopting an animal, you can visit the city website. Our adoptable animals are on the animal
You have
control.
pictures of them.
There are pictures of them.
They're so
you
cute.
can call and talk to our adoption counselor, Terry. She has a wealth of knowledge about all of our animals at the shelter, their personalities, this, that, and the other thing.
You give them names?
Of course we do.
Oh, really? Give me a name of one of the dogs you're keeping right now.
We've got Titan, we've got Achilles, we have Fluffy, Angel, we've got a cat named Noodle, we have a cat named Petrol.
Petrol.
Petrol. He wandered into someone's car at the Cumberland Farms downtown, and he didn't want to come out.
Oh.
So
Well, I don't blame
so
him.
my co-ACO Duguay, she
Calls him Petrol.
She named him Petrol. Yeah. He's a very sweet cat.
That's cute.
I love that.
Yes.
So they have new names once they're at the yeah.
We don't know their previous names most of the time. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
They don't come in with a tag, Bob, that says.
Sometimes they do, but
they're
a lot of times they don't.
You know what? If you call them Spike, I have a sense that they sell right. I would buy anything that was called Spike.
All right. That'll be the
Even
next
a
name.
chameleon to wear on your shoulder, Bob.
I wear,
Spike.
yeah.
Great name for a chameleon.
Spike. But great name for a chameleon that's on a pin, right?
I think that's a very good thing.
All right, Bob.
What's the website again, and with
We're
the
at the
telephone
top of the
number?
hour. We have a website that you can go to. You can go to the city website. You can go to Westfield City Elf, and that can take you to a link to the animal shelter.
Yep.
You can give her a call online or get her online. Thank you for
What's
coming
your
in,
full
Margaret.
name, Miss Terkelsen?
It's Margaret Terkelsen.
Terkelsen.
Okie dokie, Bob. We're running out of time.
Terkelsen.
Yes.
A nice Norwegian girl?
Yes.
All righty. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Margaret,
Thank
for coming
you.
in. Let's go to break and
Pleasure.
switch
Thank you
sides.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love that name, Terkelsen.
Thanks.
I love
I don't
it.
know.
Yes. I'm actually, honestly, I'm mostly German and Irish, but
Oh,
a little
oh
bit
my
of
God, look
Norwegian.
at this. Yeah.
All righty. Can we go to break here, Peter? Thank you.
Burn down the store, take what you want and more. Shop until you drop, voodoo consumer never stop. Load up on supplies, no sale, no compromise. Gun crazy down the mall, voodoo consumer take it all. Eat this, drink this, try this, charge it, it's fabulous. Step right up and take it, it's fabulous. If you can't afford it, fake it. Be deviously dangerous, ridiculously cool. Let's make it fabulous. 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 Drive me to the bank, kneel down and give me thanks. Grab your credit card, voodoo consumer, kiss me hard. Eat this, drink this, try this, charge it, it's fabulous. Step right up and take it, it's fabulous. If you can't afford it, fake it. Be deviously dangerous, ridiculously cool. Let's make it fabulous. step right up and take it. It's fabulous. If you can't afford to fake it, be deviously dangerous, ridiculously marvelous, meticulously treacherous, disarduously cruel. Just make it fabulous.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donuts shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Yeah.
Kath, I just received a text from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Kenny remembers chameleon and koala brooches.
Really?
There we go.
Oh, my Lord.
And that means he's awake.
Oh, my
Honest
Lord.
to
That's
God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Kathy, I'm going to buy you a live chameleon brooches. You put they're on a chain and they stay on your body,
Right,
and they crawl all around and they change colors with whatever.
Stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
it's a mood ring sort of.
Oh, dear Lord. The early mood rings. And with that, we want to welcome you back to WCPC, Channel 15, WestfieldTV.org, in cooperation with Westfield State University, 89.5 FM. And this is Kathy Palmer coming to you from the Westfield Technical Academy. And under glass over there, we have none other than our lovely producer, Peter Coles. And we have changed gears again. Excuse me. And I have at the end of the table, Bob, move over a little bit. You're not in camera enough.
Oh, I don't need to be on camera. They know what I look like.
Unfortunately.
Oh my God, is my stomach
can
showing?
see him.
It's my
there he
stomach
is.
showing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy
we-
mother!
Oh.
Holy God! Where do I look? I prefer to look over there, but I'm going to look right out
It's
here.
easy to talk to you this way. It's,
yeah.
that's why I liked it out there, because I could see everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So we have new guests here, ladies and gentlemen. We have Krista. Krista is the producer for the upcoming musical at the Westfield Theater Group, a department of the Westfield Women's Club. She is producing 1776, and then we also have Rob Clark, none other than our esteemed director for 1776, a musical with music and lyrics by Sherman Edwards and book by Peter Stone. It first performed in 1969. It also won a Tony Award for Best Play, for Best Musical. It was also the first musical to be presented at the White House.
Oh, wow.
For none other than President Nixon. It closed after 1,217 performances, and then it was revived again in 1997, and then again in 2022 with a quite unique, different type of cast than we have now. It's also available, the movie is available from 1972 in several different streamings, so you can watch the movie. I know it's available on...
Netflix, I think.
Is it?
I think it
It
might
might
be
be on
Netflix. I
Netflix.
think
Yeah, it's out there and it's available. So
YouTube as well.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
This is the second time, Bob, that we've had Rob. And Bob, you have done the music.
I did 1776. I was it was one of my first professional gigs, and I was chosen to. It was a summer stock thing, and I was supposed to play it. I was supposed to be there for the entire season. Okay. And do all these plays. But I was working at the time, and I couldn't do the whole season. So they elected, and I think they would have ignored me. But 1776 needs a lot of men, right?
You didn't play Abigail.
Yes.
I did not play Abigail. How many men are in 1776? What?
22?
Something like 22 men plus 2 women. and there are roles. So I go to there, and I'm like one of the oldest people in the cast. Number one, summer stock. Traditionally,
this
it's
last year.
This is like, I was like 40 years, no, I got 20, 25, maybe 30 years ago. So I was in my 40s, and I went to the it was McCaden summer stock, if you know McCaden. And it led to some good stuff in New York City. But so at McCaden, so on the day they announced the cast, I was there, and everybody's looking over at the old guy. So who do you think I played in 1777? And it's not. I'm not. Don't go by that old guy stuff. Okay. Because I looked 7 years younger than when Rob, who are you going to cast me in? Right now, you're going to cast me as Benjamin Franklin.
I'm wondering if I go old or young.
It was
Rutledge. I have a guess.
Yeah, you.
The gentleman from Rhode Island. Who is that?
Hopkins.
Caesar Rodney?
No,
Hopkins.
That's Delaware.
Hopkins, I would have loved to play Hopkins.
That's a fun role.
I would have liked to have played Hopkins. No, I was. I ate a total meal every performance.
Oh, you were Chase.
I was Sam Chase.
Yes.
And who was this large, portly man, and who ate. I ate. We did 8 shows a week, and we did it for 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. On the second to go round, I said to the producers, I said, isn't there any way that I could have something other than fried chicken? And I ate fried chicken for 2 solid 8 performances a week. Can you imagine? So they finally changed it to ham, but the problem was that the ham was not such. I had a scene where I had a chicken bone. I have this scene with the when the guy comes in,
right?
And he is really he's about ready to sing "Mama Look Sharp," and he meets me, and he's staring at. He's so hungry. And he tries to grab it, and he doesn't try to grab it, but it's a real subtle move. We got a joke every time I took my drumstick and I pointed it toward him and I pulled away. But that's my 1776 story. I love the show. I am so excited about your doing it here. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, it's funny, the irony that you played Chase.
Yeah, Chase. I wore a fat suit, incidentally, and I made my.
All right,
and I did.
Let's move to Rob. Let's move to Rob.
Wait. My makeup made me look. I did my makeup so that I sort of look like a pig.
Rob,
I know. Take it away, Rob.
Well, the irony that you brought up Chase of all characters is that Chase is one of the few male roles, really the only short of the Courier. Chase is being played by a woman.
Who's all about maybe 90 pounds.
Yeah, she's...
No, you're kidding me.
Skinny, small, blonde-haired woman, Heather Wyman, who we are putting in a fat suit and has been working very hard to change
the walk.
Has actually been rehearsing in a fat penguin costume.
A penguin costume, correct.
Yeah. To get the waddle down.
Great idea.
It's
a great idea.
Yeah. And when you...
All right, let's take a break here. Let's stop. Take a break. First of all, I want you to stand up and take a look at your dress.
So this is the dress. So there are the 2 premier roles are Abigail Adams and Martha Jefferson. So as co-producer, Nancy Wright and myself, we have been in a few plays, and we fell in love with 2 dresses that we wore at another play. So we said, we're going to be a part of this. We're going to be out and about as much as we possibly can in these colonial dresses. And I now took on the role of Martha Washington, who is not at all in this play. But we figured, hey, why not? We'll jump into the fun. And then Nancy is actually going to be playing Betsy Ross. So we will be on the steps of every matinee. There are 3 matinees, which is a little different for the normal shows that we do at Westfield. So we'll be out there. I wouldn't say harassing people, but we will definitely be helping them along to get to where they have to go, and making sure, because we do have a whole new ticketing system and reserve seats and a lot of things still the same old theater, but kind of with a new twist on it.
Got
So so following a little more in line with other theaters in this area.
So, Rob, tell us, please, for the audience, because they don't know, and this is new, and we're talking like we know what it is. Tell us what the show is about and why you thought this would be a good fit for the Westfield Theater.
Well, the show, in a nutshell, is the month or so leading up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, portrayed in a musical version. So it takes some liberties, but it's basically the gathering of the Congressional Congress. That's not the right word.
Continental.
Thank you. I knew that wasn't right.
It was
It
the
didn't sound right.
Second
Continental Congress in Philadelphia, as they gather, trying to hash this out and work it out and come to some sort of an agreement to form a new nation. And there's some great song and dance numbers. We thought, myself and George Garber, who is my music director, I worked with him last spring on Big Fish.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. And we decided to bring it to Westfield because it's such a great building for it. You know, the historical aspect of the theater itself really lends itself to the time period. It brings a different feel to it all. We've got a great production crew with Krista and Nancy as first-time producers who are just absolutely killing it out there. Bringing in some bunting, we're going to really decorate it up to look historically accurate as possible, and I think it's really going to lend to the credence of the show. So,
And you have how many in the cast?
I always lose track of this, but it's 25, I think. 26?
Yeah, I would say between 26 and 28. I just did all the biographies, so yeah.
There you go.
But I'm also counting production crew, so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a large cast.
It is a large cast.
And most of the cast, or most of them, are on stage the entire time.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and it is Rob nailed it when it comes to when you look at this building, when you go in and see the balcony. Not many theaters have balcony seating that's all wrapped around, and it kind of looks like a miniaturized Congress because of the balcony, and with the bunting, which we had loaned to us, which was phenomenal, because it is a bigger budget, and we are really making sure that that we get as much as we can out of the monies that we were allowed.
Sure.
So yeah, it's going to be. And the costumes themselves, from what I'm hearing, they're all being handmade, hand sewn. They want to make sure that they look as authentic as possible.
Yeah, and a shout out to Karen Bonsi, our costumer, because
Karen is excellent.
She is doing a phenomenal job having to assemble 20-something walking sticks, all these costumes, vests.
This is one of hers.
Shoes,
Yeah,
wigs.
this is one of hers.
That's one of Karen's.
Everything. It's incredible.
Plus, we also, this is the first time where the orchestra, which was 13 pieces, which is a bit larger than we normally have.
Yeah, it's about twice the size of what we normally do.
They're planning on being on back of the stage.
Speaking of orchestra, yes, you have a whole new thing going on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, it's really yours, and George thought it up.
Yeah, it was. Our vision from the beginning was to try to move the pit band from down the right side of the stage, the audience left of the house, up onto the stage, in the upstage behind the action.
What a great idea.
So they're going to be up there. It's almost going to look like
behind the scrim?
We don't think we're using a scrim. We're going to try to keep them in the dark if that works when we pull the final lighting together. But it's going to look as if they're sitting just behind the windows, just outside the building.
Lovely.
And they're going to be an integral part of the show. I mean, more so than the band usually is. So,
sure. Sure.
Should be fun.
You know what I wanted to ask is, a lot of people say 1776, this is all about the signing of the Declaration. We know what the ending is.
Spoiler alert.
Well, we do and we don't, though. We don't know the process.
We don't know the process, but we don't. But what I found when we were doing the show was there's so much tension and suspense around heading toward a ending that we all know.
We know, but they didn't.
They didn't know. The people in the cast didn't know, or the characters didn't know where they were going. But to watch the machinations about whether it's they're going to vote slavery in, what the name, what the bird, what the symbol motto of the
egg.
Sure.
The egg.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about a number of different issues, and it really, the way it's written, the way it's being portrayed, it still has you on the edge of your seat. At the end, like you're wondering, like, are they going to get this done or not? And of course, we all know they get it done, but you are left wondering right up to the very end, what's he going to do?
Yeah, the question I get a lot is this a play that's historically accurate? And so what I've been answering people is, I'm sure they didn't break out in song and dance and say, sit down, John. But I'm pretty sure.
Sit down, John. You don't know that.
Well, they probably did yell at
probably a different way. Probably not in sing and dance. But I always say, you know what, come and see the play, and then let that be the beginning of your research. Because now that's going to familiarize yourself with the characters, with the actual historical people. And then from there, there's, do your own research. And take it for what it is. It's a Broadway play. It was written with the gentleman that wrote it, did put a lot of historical.
Well, he was an English teacher,
teacher,
a history teacher before then, from what I know.
But there will be discussions, and that's a good thing. That's a good, have the discussions. Let this be an opening for you to see, okay, what really happened and how accurate is this? And it's a fun play. I'm a lover of history. My parents are Revolutionary War reenactors. I mean, I've grown up with it forever. And this was, as soon as I found out they were thinking about proposing the show, I was very excited. And then the next thing was, how are we going to get this many men? And the actors and actresses that we have are just phenomenal.
How do you get those many men?
Well,
it's a wonder you didn't call me. I think I kept my mouth shut. I would be in a fat suit up there.
Well,
call me if you need me. I got my own chicken bone.
I almost did. We went through a couple iterations of some characters before we settled on the cast that we have now.
Sure.
But to find this many people in this day and age, it's easier than ever. I think Kathy will agree with me on that. From her directing past shows, is we have social media platforms. There are a number of community theater groups for the area.
Right.
If you get the word out there early on every page you possibly can, and get out there and spread the word. The theater community, we always say, I run into people at shows and I'm like, I know you, but we've never worked together.
Yeah, sure.
And it's because we all have 80 to 100 mutual friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever
And you know what? I think that this is a play that has distinctive characters. Even the minor characters are distinctive. I mean, like Sam Chase was a minor character, but yet essential to the plot of the play in a way, as well as every one of these characters you could do history on and sort of bring your own self as an actor to it. It's not just, I'm going to sit on a stage and be part of a chorus.
Right.
No, you are part of that.
We tell all actors that they need to be on all the time, regardless of what your lines are.
Good listening.
But that's a really good example because they do need to always be in character. Speaking of characters, Rob, is there any one character that drives the play, one or two?
You've got John Adams and Benjamin Franklin.
And John Adams is played by who?
John Adams is played by A.J. Berube, who is a veteran to the Westfield stage, as well as Exit 7 and some other theaters. He's a veteran to community theater.
Sure.
And then Ben Franklin, played by Tom LaCourte, who goes way back to the
back
Westfield theater. Good friend of mine, and
and what about Tom Jefferson? Because he's that triumvirate there.
So
I think he.
In the end, he does. He comes in and
and Jefferson is I'm going to say I've never worked in Westfield. Has Nick been in Westfield before?
I don't know of him ever working in Westfield at any of the theater shows.
Yeah, Nicholas, I hope I'm saying it right, Aida, who is a history professor up at Westfield State.
I know him. Oh my gosh, I know him well.
Yeah.
No, Nick Aida. He's on the historical commission with me. Yes.
And he's been as Thomas Jefferson. I when you're talking about learning the characters, the one thing that we do have a private Facebook group, so the cast can kind of get to know each other and everybody, and it's amazing. It's really amazing just to see how these people they're researching their roles and they're posting it. Here's some background on so and so that you might not have known, and they're really taking it in on their own. The walking sticks, like the wigs, once it all starts coming together, it's just going to be amazing. Yeah. I mean, the right now just watching these people in plain clothes up on stage, the dancing. And the vocals, having that many, not to take away from female cast, when you have the Sopranos in there, but having that many men on stage is a rarity, and it's pretty amazing. It hits you, especially if you're used to theater. It's really amazing.
It's interesting. I do remember Judy Brown from.
I do.
Yeah, she was a musical director.
Yes.
Who also worked at McCain years back, and she came to see 1776 ages back, and she said, "Bob, the interesting thing was that there were some people who pointed their, you know how because you're wearing a the men have." What would you call it? They're breeches. They go to the knee, and then you've got the sock,
the stockings
that accentuates the calf, and because of that, you're almost forced to stand in a pose in a way. And she said, "Bob, I watched you." And this was only because of my vanity. But I used to take my weight and put my foot out in a way that was sort of posing my, like in the Renaissance Theater or something.
Oh, I know
so
what
it
you're
was
saying.
posing the costume dictated a lot of my character. And I bet that's going to happen, or it is already happening for you
and
guys.
for you dancers out there that couldn't see that would have been like first position that he was standing in.
I was standing in first
yeah.
position. Oh, yeah.
So really, really striking a pose and popping the hips forward.
You're going to hire me for the next show?
And who is your choreographer?
So our choreographer is back after a few years hiatus, is Mary Beth Missoula Vargas, who is just absolutely fabulous.
Well, she's got to be. She's got 4 names.
Yeah. Well, Mary Beth has history with the Westfield Theater Group and other theater groups around as well, but has taken some time off for family and has graciously agreed to come back and do this show, and has just done a fabulous job wrangling in all these male actors, many of whom have little to no dance experience, and she has gotten just the absolute best out of them.
Not only that, but you don't really have a large area to do some of this choreography, so that's an issue.
True.
Doing it among and around and all these chairs. Your set stays in place, doesn't it?
Primarily, yes. Short of shuffling a few chairs back, but the Congress is set more upstage, behind the arch on the stage, if you're familiar with the theater. And then we've got the thrust down low where we're staging some of the smaller scenes. But the set stays in place the entire time. We never open and close the curtain to hide anything. Sure. It's all there in plain view.
I love that because it kind of opens the theater up in a way to have the musical ensemble back there. It kind of like really sets the stage in a way. You think you're part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the idea staging was just to constantly keep reminding you that why we're here, that this is all centered around the Congress meeting, and that these little asides and these step outs, it's still all happening. Right behind.
Well, Abigail Adams and John Adams, Kathy and I have often said.
No, it wasn't our day, Bob. I don't remember them personally. If you're going to ask me.
They
lived the chameleon on their shoulders.
Remember, they lived down the street. I would always invite them to dinner at my house. No. But I always say
those Massachusetts rebels.
I would love to do. There's a play about John and Abigail Adams, the letters of John and Abigail Adams. And if you read John Adams' book, that by, was it Meacham that wrote the book on John Adams? No, I can't remember. There's a John Adams thick book that the series is on. The letters of this incredible woman, Abigail Adams, who knew how to wield her husband and get stuff for the army, for instance, saltpeter or whatever,
pins.
And indeed, I think some of the music.
It is.
It's directly from the letters,
I believe yes, it is. That the few scenes we have between John and Abigail are all done in letter form. We see them both, but it's as if they're writing back and forth to each other from different places, and it does reference that Abigail's having a hard time at home, and John is asking for things, and she says, "Well, I can help you with this, but you need to help me with this." And the back and forth, and it's a nice side love story when all this is going on, trying to form the country. You've got this older
couple
developed relationship. They've been together a long time, and you can see the real deep, passionate love that they have, and then that juxtaposed with the Jeffersons, who are young and in love.
Yes.
Which is a totally different relationship.
Totally.
Can't keep their hands off each other. But
he plays the violin, you know.
Yes,
He does. He does. And there's a bit of innuendo there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a lot of innuendo with the show, actually. We're really starting to develop that now. We're hitting that point where we're in the home stretch before we open, and now is when the nuances come out. Now that we've developed the characters, we've got the lines down for the most part. Now we're really starting to draw the meaning behind the words out, and this is the most stressful yet my most favorite part of the show, when you really start to see it come together, when you're 3 weeks from opening and you're scared, and then the next day you're like, oh, I see it.
Yeah,
I see it, and I can't wait for it to.
Kathy, you know, the dialogue is such in this play. You've got 24 people on a stage, and you know how you have 2 or 3 characters usually that are having dialogue. When you've got 24, and the dialogue has to be here, there, and everywhere.
I mean, it's kind of like a controlled chaos. I mean, that's when I'm watching it on stage, that is my favorite part, is to hear the banter back and forth. And I mean, some of them, it's hilarious. I think one of the gentlemen, he actually ends up getting cards made out with all the insults, so that way you don't have to waste the time of the Congress by insulting somebody verbally. Just hand them a card and it's done. Yeah. Because there was so much back and forth. And it is split pretty much right down the middle, with, of course, one state abstaining all the time. So, but it's fun.
Yeah,
but
one abstention.
And it's fun to see how it, you know, the arguments, the zings back and forth, the laughter, the way that they cheer, they bang their walking posts, and then in the meantime you have this courier that's coming in that is just so downbeaten, and
my gosh,
and he's getting the George Washington letters are coming in, and
which are in what?
Which is what's really happening. I mean, they're not fun letters.
Very disturbing.
They're very disturbing.
They're getting worse and worse as it goes, and it's stressing the importance of, we need to get something done here.
Exactly.
Yes. We're losing out there. We need to have a victory in here.
It's sort of it's an amazing thing that we got to where we got to.
It was treason.
Yeah.
It was treason.
It was really
Had it
treason.
not been successful, these men would all have been hanged.
And that's actually a line in the play.
That.
Yeah, they actually say that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here, Peter, and we'll meet you back on the other side.
They pay paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They pay paradise and put up a parking lot. They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum. And then they charged all the people $25 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paid paradise and put up a parking lot. Hey farmer, put away your DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, believe me, the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They pay paradise and they put up a parking lot. I say they pay paradise and put up a parking lot. of my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You pay paradise and they put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You pay paradise and put up a parking lot. Oh, then I pay paradise and put up a parking lot. Hey, steamroll paradise and put up a parking lot.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And this is Kathy Palmer back again with my co-host for the day because, Harry and his wife are in New York City.
Are they?
That
Harry
means-
Rock.
I don't know that I'd like to be there right about now. I'm not so sure. But they're down there to see 4 shows, so we're tremendously jealous of all of them.
Oh, my
but
gosh, yeah.
we have our own show coming up at the Westfield Theater Group Department of the Westfield Women's Club. And to my immediate right, I have Krista, who is the producer.
Well,
and
Krista,
Rob,
what's
who is
your
the
last
director.
name? What's Krista's last name?
It depends on which one she's using
Depends on the
today,
day.
Bob.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't ask.
Oh.
That's right.
What is it?
It's so it's Tatro. It was previously Stoops, and then it was Steward, and
What are you in the witness protection program?
yes.
It depends.
Every quarter I change my name.
Hence the costume.
That's right.
Yes,
We're not here to discuss. There we go again.
Drop mic.
There we go.
I
It's
know.
Martha.
Mic drop.
Martha
Mic drop.
Washington.
Yeah,
Yes,
mic
mic
drop.
drop. That's the old version.
So we're here to talk about a little bit about 1776, which is the musical. On what dates? What are our times and dates there, ladies and gentlemen?
Opening night is April 14th,
which is a
Friday. And then so all the night shows start at 7:30. We have April 14th and 15th,
Right.
April 21st and 22nd.
Right.
And then we have April 28th, which is a Friday. So that's, if you count, that's 5 shows. We're doing a total of 8 shows.
But there's something different this year.
There is.
There is. So we kind of made a decision early on that we were going to try a little something different. Normally, we do a Friday and Saturday evening the first weekend. Then we do a Friday evening and then a matinee and an evening show on Saturday for the closing 2 weekends.
Sure.
We've switched it up and moved the matinee to the first one, and then we're going to close on a matinee the closing weekend. So it'll be a Friday, then 2 Saturday shows, a Friday and 2 Saturday shows, and then a Friday and then a Saturday matinee, and we're done after the matinee.
So there's no Saturday night.
There is no
closing weekend.
Yeah, on
That's
the
a little bit
29th,
different.
there's 3 matinees total that start at 2 p.m. So that's the 15th to 22nd.
Yeah.
And there's a couple reasons behind it. One, admittedly,
Exhausting.
we're all a little older. We didn't want to try to do some sort of cast party and gathering after a 3-hour show at 7:30 on a Saturday night.
yes.
To try to stay there, you got to break the set down. You got to get all the costumes, and we can't even gather till midnight or later. And we're just
Sure.
we're getting too old for
Bob,
it.
you know.
I
I
can't
do
handle
know. This
So-
is very good.
Yeah, so a 5 p.m.
If you could have an 8 o'clock show in the morning, we'll be done by noon.
Right, but like a 5 or 6 p.m. cast show, we're out of there by 8, 9 o'clock. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So yes, that was the initial personal reason, but the more we thought about it too, with other shows and other theaters that are also doing spring shows, we've got other theaters that are opening up on our closing weekend. So it allows us to have 2 weeks of 6 shows before anybody else is even doing a show. So it's more opportunities for people to get to see our show before they have to start making the decision, where am I going to go? It's more opportunity to sell more tickets and fill more seats and get more people to see this great production before other shows start opening up their shows too. So it's a great...
I mean, the theater all around Western Mass, the theater is a family. And so we had mentioned before, A.J. Berube, Tom LaCourt, those are our two main, in the main roles. But the entire cast, we go and support all the other theaters. It's fun. You know, it's fun to go to audition even if you don't get cast, because you're saying, hey, you know, you haven't seen this person in a year and a half, especially after the COVID, and it's fun to catch up. And it's just like one big, strange, attention-seeking family. You know, I mean, but it's fun. It's great. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
We also need to point out that there's an awful lot of people that work in the background, like the producers. You need your producers, you need your house people, you need your ushers, you need your concessions. We need people to donate concessions. And that's how, as you know, Bob, that's always an issue.
Right.
One thing we're always looking for, and anybody out there, if you know someone, we're always looking for technical people, for the soundboard, for the lights, to help us set the lights. We do have some wonderful people, but they're spread thin because, as Rob and Kristen have said, they do the same shows and they do other theaters. So you find the same people coming in, and we always need those technical people and the ushers to help us. If they're not there, we don't have it. I did, you ready? Drum roll here. My first show at Westfield Theater Group opposite this man here, when we both really had brown hair.
That's right after they laid the cornerstone of the building, right?
Yeah.
It was basically, and it was lit by candles.
Right.
Yes.
Lit by candles.
Well, Bob, there was a while we thought we'd have to all bring flashlights. So.
Did they invent them by that time?
Flashlight? No, we were candlelight.
Yeah.
Violins.
Yeah. But I love shows that are set in a particular time period. And you know, I gotta compliment you, Rob, because you know you take on some real challenges. Big Fish, was it Big Fish or Little Fish? Big Fish was one of the hardest shows in my mind for any theater to do, given what it was, and I really enjoyed your Big Fish, and you solved some problems that I would have never, as a director, would never have figured out, for one. And then for you to take on 1776 is a big task. For Westfield Theater to even take on that, it's very rare. You don't get to see this show every day. I can't remember the last time it was in the area. Can you?
No, I don't know.
Our customer did it back in 81. She covered
81.
The show. I don't think it's been in the area in probably 15 years or better.
I think that's one of the reasons that we got so many people, like, because this was on a lot of people's wish lists. I mean, this was their bucket list, and we even have a gentleman that flies in from California because he heard that we were going to be doing it, and he makes the trip every couple weeks to be in the show, and.
Aiken-Pack.
I never met him before. Rich Stanford, who is playing Dr. Lyman Hall from Georgia.
Lyman Hall, I do know.
I had a few,
very important.
Had a few roles left to fill, and we were on social media, reaching out, trying to get people to come. I said, message me, what have you. And I get this message out of the blue. I'm in California, but I'd like to make the trip out there.
It's amazing.
And I said, you know this is community theater, right? We're not getting
you.
paid or anything. And he didn't care. And that speaks to the draw of this show. A lot of people came out for this show, and we were worried about trying to cast such a large male cast. But they come out because there's something about this show that somebody watched the movie when they were a kid, or they love history.
Hamilton, I think, is a big draw.
I think that helps.
I think
it's not Hamilton, and Hamilton is not in it.
Right.
But it is a big draw.
I would venture to guess that without 1776,
Hamilton,
we may not have had a Hamilton.
You know who said that?
Who said that?
Lin-Manuel. He said
really?
He said it was a big impetus for him writing Hamilton.
Well, there you go, right from the horse's mouth. So
I think it even has a reference
there.
of Sit Down, John.
I wrote that down.
In Hamilton. Yeah, I think it even has that reference of Sit Down, John.
Yes, Manuel said, Miranda said it paved the way because it made our founding fathers accessible.
Yep.
It made them into real people because they came together. Historically, if you remember, Lexington conquered, and people get these dates all mixed up.
Oh, yeah.
They get the Declaration of Independence mixed up with the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
They're not the same.
Not
folks.
it.
They're different. But Lexington was 1775, and we know it because we live in Massachusetts. The southern colonies didn't. The Massachusetts people were nothing but a bunch of rabble-rousers. And some of your southern states were not on board with this.
Oh, not at all.
They were typical Tories. They were absolutely. And remember that Americans back in those days were British citizens. This is treason.
Kathy,
Absolute
1776, we signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
But it's not ratified
until later.
Until like 1778 or so. We fight the war. The war continues afterward. I never get that. I think of it as it's the end of the
right, July 4th, and
that's all people know.
That was it.
Not at all. No,
it's the very beginning. I mean, really, that aids in Washington's fight because it's like we now have this, and when it's delivered to him, he says, "Finally, they've made a decision." I mean, which is funny because look where we are now in politics, right? Same thing.
Sure, they made a decision.
They made a decision. Oh my gosh!
And we still can't.
But it's really the beginning, and it actually gives weight to. Now we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Now we're going to do it, and ultimately that's when the French come in, and they do end up helping us. Yeah, much later. It
wasn't until
but without the Declaration, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have even been started. It would have all fallen apart because the colonies had to make a decision, and they had to actually come together. Or not. I mean, as that's why coming to see the play, you'll see it's not just it's an hour conversation. This goes on for quite some time.
And didn't it have to be, Rob? It had to be unanimous, didn't it? They all had to sign on.
Yeah, and that's referenced in the show as to why it had to be unanimous and why it was so important that everybody agreed to it.
And everybody had to be there. And indeed, that's one of those liberty facts that they took. Caesar Rodney is the Rhode Island representative. Delaware. And he's very ill.
Yes.
And he needs to be there. Yes. And the writer Sherman Edwards, what would it telescopes it into a particular time period. It was a little later than what it is in the book, but in reality, etc. Mm-hmm. But it creates this excitement. Will he show up?
Oh.
Won't he show up?
Where does it take place? We haven't said that.
Well,
where?
Oh, Philadelphia.
Yeah. And remember we talked about Philadelphia, and I said, why was that the capital? And you said, well, because I think it was important. And I looked it up, and Rob, you were right. It was because it was mostly in the center of the colonies, and it was a large banking city. So that is why Philadelphia was the original capital of the colonies. But they were not in agreement. They were typically not. Even while the war was going on, you still had Tories.
What do you call it? Independence Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Independence Hall.
Yes.
Independence Hall, which is right there, and you go, have you ever been? Oh, my God, it's worth the trip.
Yep.
And surprisingly, in a sense, underwhelming because you've got this vision that so important to our country, took place in this building. So I'm expecting whatever. But you know what? I went in there and I sat in Sam Chase's seat because they tell you where.
Did you?
Yeah, I went over and I said, I think they allowed people to.
Did you jump the ropes?
I know.
Well, it was right. It was right after the back.
It was after they left the building.
The seat was still warm.
The seat was still warm. He had a big seat, incidentally. So the seat was so warm. But you know that importance of this. Oh, and you might talk about the ending. About the idea of the Liberty Bell ringing in the end, and what you created at the end as a director.
Sure. So there's a famous painting. I think it's just called? The Declaration of Independence? Signing Declaration?
I know the painting. I don't know.
Google Declaration of Independence painting.
And it's going to pop up.
There's a famous painting, and I can't think of the painter offhand.
Yeah, me either.
But everybody knows it. Once you see it, you'll know it. And that is the final tableau that we paint on stage. That's the freeze as the lights fade and the Liberty Bell rings louder and louder and louder and louder. And it just...
It is so exciting.
It will if we find someone to run sound.
Well,
if not, we'll all stand up there with a big. There you go. Get a big bell.
Ding ding.
Well, that takes us back to, you mentioned before, looking for ushers, looking for technical people to help come help build set. Please, we definitely need people with tools that know how to use them.
Wouldn't it be great if you had the bell of the First Methodist Church and the First Congregational Church begin to we could have people over there pushing a thing so they run electronically. The bells start to ring all over the town. Oh my God, wouldn't that be exciting?
It's an idea.
You can't wait to see this show.
I cannot wait.
I love it. I hope this excitement transfers through the camera to everybody else watching, because it's going to be quite an experience.
There are a few. Kathy, you might answer this question, and you guys as theater people would. When you think of Americana and you think of the Broadway musical, we think now of Hamilton. I think of 1776. Are there any others that really capture America?
The American history as we know it?
Well, not so, but that this is a purely American story.
The only one that would jump out to me, and it's totally different than these that we're talking, would be probably Music Man.
I was going to say.
The Music Man
is...
There's something so iconic American about the
there is something
Midwestern feel to it that just...
That I think that the music for me, that is the pure American...
Showboat,
maybe Oklahoma and Showboat.
Showboat brings a lot of issues to the front for.
Sure.
That I don't
but
know.
Even,
that's a question for you. The script has been changed a little bit. Are you using the original script or one that there's some that's sort of sanitized and?
Oh no, we have not cut anything out. We are using the original script. Okay. There are some moments where, if we do it right, and I think we are, because I'm feeling it right now, sitting out there. But the audience is going to feel uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, yes.
And they should. They should, because it brings you into the issues that were being discussed, the talking points as to what was going to make or break the Declaration, things like slavery. That's primarily the main
topic. And this one, Rutledge, has one song in the show.
Oh yeah, it's a very powerful song. I mean, it brings to light hypocrisy when the northern states, they say certain things about slavery, and he just throws it right back in their face.
Right.
And then it's when you think now that you look 80 years. Go 80 years in the future, not maybe 90 years, and there's the Civil War, and it's the same conversation that we're having.
God. Oh yeah.
And so you can
from
really,
molasses to rum.
Yes,
to slave.
Very powerful song.
Yep.
It's probably I would say it's the most in-your-face song of the entire thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And wasn't it? Did I hear then that in Sherman Edwards' vocabulary, this is a what do you call that when you stand up in Congress and you talk and talk and talk? What?
Like a filibuster?
A filibuster.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and it goes from sundown in the movie. It's sundown to sunrise, or sundown. He's singing about this through the night because trying to get his fellow congressmen to agree that this is, and offering real truth that leads to the decision that we've got to do this. Mm-hmm. We've got to make this a government for, of, and by the people. Mm-hmm. And outlaw slavery. Although I don't think they outlawed slavery in Declaration.
No. Yeah, and that's why when you fast forward, now that we know history, that's why, again, it's the same topic coming up in the Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's the same. So it was the northern states, and this is where people say, oh, is it historically accurate? And this is where I say, see the play, and let that be the start of your research if you're really interested in it. It was written with a lot of knowledge based, but we live in a time now that there's information everywhere. So do your own research and take the play for what it is. It's an entertainment play. It shows you true characters. It's a starting point if you have an interest in this.
Yeah.
Rob,
is
there anything else you want to get out to us, because we're running down again? Is there anything we haven't asked you about that you'd like to share with us?
How to buy tickets.
Yeah, how to buy tickets.
They can go online.
WestfieldTheaterGroup.com, .org.
It's .com.
It is .com.
Westfieldtheatergroup.com.
WestfieldTheaterGroup.com.
Would you spell theater?
Theater. TheaTre.
It'll bring it.
Ironically enough, the Old English version of theater, but WestfieldTheaterGroup.com. Go on there. We have a new ticketing system now where you can order tickets online rather than having to call and wait for a call back, which you still can do. But you can order them online. Pick your seats out now online. We're coming into the modern age and making it a little easier. We've finally caved and making it easier for all our patrons to get those tickets ahead of time. And ticket sales, I think, are going pretty well.
They are, yeah. So I looked at all of the shows. We've had ticket sales for every single one of the shows. The matinees and the Friday night shows, they typically go really. That's another reason we decided on a third matinee show.
Sure.
So yeah, get your tickets as soon as you can, and there are seating. There's a seating available up in the balcony. There's a couple rows up there. So and again, you can.
And there's not a really bad seat in the house here, is there?
No.
And
my favorite seats are on the sides of the house on the aisle.
Yep.
You can see every single when people come in with children.
Yeah.
That's where I advise they sit.
I think also with a show like this.
Oh, and we have to mention, excuse me, I don't know.
Sure.
But while I think of it, we are always handicap accessible now.
Correct.
For those people.
There's an elevator that goes right
not
in.
an
Elevator
It's called
goes
an
down to the bathroom as well.
Yes, it does.
And there is a handicap.
Yeah, we don't make you hold it.
Okay.
All
right.
You get to use the restroom.
Please, I might have to go.
That has
I'm
happened.
going before this because is there an intermission?
There is. Yep.
Bob,
Sometimes
you
they
had
do it
something
without.
you wanted to say
I
before
wanted
we
to
broke?
say yes, that the music, to hear a chorus of men singing harmony is very rare in community theater. A chorus this big of men, and if you play your cards right, this music is you want to go home and buy the CD number one. You want to research, etc., etc. I couldn't be more excited than as if I were doing the show. I want to see this badly. I really do. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your coming in. Rob, thank you very much. Good luck once again. That is 1776 at the Westfield Theater Group, a department of the Westfield Women's Club, opening on April 14th. Make sure you get your tickets online. It is very easy. It is quick. That means when you walk into the theater, you either have a printed ticket or you have it on your phone, and you get to walk right in. No waiting, no standing in line. Thank you to Krista, who is the producer, along with Nancy.
Yep, Nancy Wright.
Nancy Wright. I'm going to say Colby.
I know.
Will you girls
Oh my
stop
God.
this?
I know.
Stop
Really?
it.
What happened? She got married or
listen,
something?
I can't get
We
these
change
names
our names
right.
all the time.
She did.
They're in
She
the
did.
witness protection.
I'm
just
still
know.
Clark.
Rob Clark. Yeah.
How did you know?
Yeah.
So, Bob, thank you for filling in with
I
me.
had a
really
great time.
appreciate
It brought me back to talk about the show, and I wish you great success. Start thinking of the next one, because maybe Music Man might be up there.
Oh, we have a lot of people.
We're always thinking of the next one.
So, all right. Yeah.
I love that one. So anyway, what do we have coming up next week, Peter? I think we have Chef John is coming in.
I think you are correct, yes.
And are we doing Making the List next week?
No, we're not doing Making the List till sometime in April, because
Got it.
people are gone or people are missing.
Got it.
So that is coming up. But I think next week we'll be back with Chef John Slattery again. So thank you
And then
very
Kenny
much.
and I are off, and everybody's off.
Then you're
Wait,
off.
what is
All
that
right.
week so I can plan it?
Oh, we'll talk off air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
They're both off. So
I might be doing a show by myself.
Yeah, the one.
We'll stop in. We'll stop
They're
in.
both off.
Oh,
so
good.
The theater's open after we close. For a little while,
Yeah, so we're good. So thank you, everyone. If you want to see this again, it will be up on social media at some time.
Absolutely.
So you can
Look for the
watch
Rotary
yourself
signs around town.
and listen to you so you can watch yourself again. And thank you to L24 who's still listening in. We now have 24 listeners. And
Great.
we'll see you again at WCPC and in cooperation with Westfield State University, 89.5. And we will see you next week. Peter, thank you for all your help and keeping us going. Goodbye.